Hello everyone, and welcome to another Arknights video. Today's video, we're going to continue, or say start, on EX stages for Act or Die. I didn't really instantly start it, because I decided to get into Trials for Navigator 5, the IS version. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I pretty much went into it to a certain degree. Main goal, at least, getting Morgan's skin. It's a really nice skin. I decided to make a free skin for a character that I feel like kind of got left to the side. I guess I'm going to be really honest. A lot of the story characters, operators, kind of just got shafted, whatever word you want to think of, means leaving in the dust. Anyway, so I got up to here. I was doing the third stage and remembering why I kinda hate Playwright to an extent. Like, it feels... I want to say this real quickly before we get into the EX stages here, and I probably will keep this into the beginning of the video here. The biggest issue of the second and third stage isn't the bosses. To me, the biggest threat for Dash 2 is the Nourished Reef Breakers. And for Dash 3, it's the fucking Blood Magisters, or the Winter Swiss Blood Magisters. Like, it's just those two specific enemies that are just, like, honestly make the final stage worse than it really should be. Like, the boss in its own right isn't the issue, it's fucking elite enemies that spawn in that are super, like, decently tanky, that hit way too fucking hard. Those guys are more of a threat than the boss. And that says something. But again, I mean, the normal stage, I was only limiting with like 2 6-stars, and I just been adding more and more 6-stars to the point of like, I'm gonna eventually just start using better and better characters, better operators. At this point, mainly, like, these two sets of stages weren't bad. The second one was just I needed more healing. I didn't really need to use Fiala Alter, but I'm just using that just because she has better healing, because you can just straight up block and face tank Mouthpiece. I don't necessarily need to use Fiala, but it's just as a showcase of like, you just need enough healing. The third phase is really just dealing with the fuckers that are just coming from this side, really. Everything else over here isn't really an issue. I don't think the boss is the worst thing. Especially with what I was trying to go with originally, which, to be brutally honest, mostly looked, no, that's not really a perfect showcase. More looks, that's still just, it's changing, but it doesn't really show me the original one. But it was just honestly, Intelligia, how the fuck you ever pronounce her name, and then Tragodia, and the rest are just 4 and 5 stars. And me just kind of seeing how good actually Tragodia is, and he's back and forth. He's not like Wizardale, where it's just like instantaneous, like everything gets deleted. There's a lot more you have to go work around him. And he isn't just going to be instantly solving all your problems. There's going to be some scenario. There's going to be a decent amount of scenarios in the map where you need to actually think, then just assume that Tragodia can just fix everything. He's good, but you still have to think. So, again, this is not like just... Aside from these 2 6-stars, the rest are 4 stars and 5 stars. And I was able to pretty much get all the way to TN-3, where it just feels like the last enemy is just making it worse than anything else. Which I think it will kind of showcase what I did here. I mean, I'm gonna be forced to use other 6 stars anyway in like the second squad. So like, I'm going to have to use 6 stars in a way. That's why I'm not too worried about an idea of niche when it comes to this game mode. For those that are wondering, like for me, it's whatever beats the stage. Anyway, I said I was not gonna really do much videos, and that is the case. I just haven't really touched it since, just because getting through this takes a hot minute, just because of how long it actually genuinely takes to get through the troop mouthpiece. Brutally being honest here, just because of how it works. I feel like they should have made it a lot quicker, but that's just me. But then again, there's a lot of like moving around and it's back and forth. It's just one of those fights that it takes a hot minute, and then yeah, fucking like biggest issue is not even the actual boss. Anyway, I just wanted to rant a little bit on that, but I at least wanted to grab Morgan's skin, just so that if I do not touch it again, for whatever reason, I won't have to worry about it. So, yeah. Anyway. Now, the videos, aside from the headhunting, is not up. I am uploading the very last video. Finally. After a week of this event being out, I finally almost finishing the last video of the Master's Travels, just because of all the issues we're currently having with the internet. Yay! Anyway, if you did not hear or did not know, we're pretty much doing 2 different niches. Now, technically, I have participated in 3 different niches in total for Arknights. The first 2, the 4 and 5 star only. We adding Crown Slayer to that mix. The second niche is low ops clear, aka the least amount of operators bringing to a stage. Not how many operators are on stage, but the amount I bring to a stage. So, for example, maybe I just bring 3 operators, Gaviolter, Mjolnir, and then maybe a healer. Who knows? I'm just thinking out a little bit of like past runs. Well, I don't think it was a healer, but it was another character, but it was essentially like 3 characters: Gaviolter, Mjolnir, and I think it was actually some Texas Alter. But it's been a hot minute. There's probably a run where there's those 3 operators that maxed out a stage. But this was like, I think, old CC as well, if I remember correctly. Anyway, so, yeah, that's the second niche. And then the third niche is the newer niche, the ODRKnights. Now, there's some changes to it. So, let's actually talk about the ODRKnights. Those are characters that have offensive recovery or defensive recovery with restrictions. So, the restrictions are if a skill changes from an offensive recovery to a defensive recovery to a different type of skill. Really, there are 2 ways for the most part that tends to happen. It goes either to a unlimited duration, or the other one where it's not necessarily changing, but it is altering how the skill works, where it's still an offensive recovery skill, but the skill is automatically activated, versus the normal, what you tend to see being unlimited duration. Unlimited duration is, for the most part, I would say, a different type of skill in its own right. But a lot of time in Arknights, it tends to be going from like one to the other. It's not generally its automatic duration is either like a time or amount of skill usage. There are certain skills that do alter the skill itself, but don't really change into a different type of skill. I'm looking at Viviana's S3, where her skill lasts longer, her skill does more damage, and changes a little bit of the properties of how she works. As an example of not really changing the skill, but just overall making the skill better with more use case. So, there's a decent amount of characters that fits this restriction. Some of them are characters I actually accidentally used during the first week without really thinking about it because I'm so used to using that skill. And that's going to be some issue that I tend to have. I kind of accidentally did as for one of the clears as well. I'm not actually doing an offensive or defensive, but I mentioned that didn't really matter, as it was kind of like a fun showcase of like, even if I used the wrong skill, would have been perfectly fine against this boss. Okay, I was using Blaze 2 accidentally, and I was meant to use Blaze S1 skill. But three characters that are a good showcase of this: Thorns S3, Pazinka's S1, and Flamebringer's S2. Flamebringer is the character that I pretty much was mentioning that I'm so used to using as S2 that I completely neglected the fact that his S2 becomes an unlimited duration. So I used S1, and we did beat the boss stage with his S1. It did, in a way, kind of work, but there are some things that I think are worth mentioning for the boss that I may or may not get around to talking about it in today's video, or at least this section of the video. Whenever I get around to the boss stage again, I will probably mention it. The second restriction is no Wizardel or no Wiz. Honestly, our S1's not like super mega broken, you need to stop using her type thing. It's just more of the mentality of players when it comes to Wizardel. I think people would freak the fuck out if I'm using Wizardel S1, even if I'm not using her in IS. Technically, S1 is on the table for Wizardel, and I can use her. But just the fact of how she works, even without, using S3, I decided, fuck it. Let's just play ball. I won't have no more Wizardel in here. I don't believe normal W's here either. So, rip W/Wizardel fans. And then finally, the last restriction: the character must be E2. This is something I talked about during the last video, that the character must be E2 for me to use said character. With being E2, it pretty much actually restricts a lot more than you realize, because there's a lot of characters that do have a defensive recovery or a defensive recovery. And I had to borrow a character E2 to use in this exact event, because I didn't realize that that would be a scenario that I would have to do. Granted, there's a lot to talk about the boss, because there's a lot of things I didn't know about the boss, so take that into consideration. Now, to add a bit of quirk, to add some little flair and fun to the event so it's not just always boring, I guess, I decided to do an addition. So far, it's just one. It'll probably stay that way. For 4 stars and 5 stars, that addition is Crown Slayer. Crown Slayer is a 6 star. I don't think it takes a lot to understand. Now, could this change in the future? Maybe. I don't know. I technically don't have it listed down to begin with, unlike the ODRKnights here. But regardless, when it comes to ODRKnights, I wanted to add something that would be a unique addition that could change some things. So I decided, why not make it so that if the character is the same birthday as me, that I would use said character completely without restrictions. As you can probably tell, there's only one character, and that is Vermil. There's a lot of characters that are around, but they are not exactly the same birthday. So Vermil is the only character that is applicable. Ironic is that it's probably one of the few character skins that were for free that I did not grab, because at that point in time of that event, I pretty much just didn't touch the events. I believe this was the Icebreaker Games 2 that I pretty much did not touch because I really just gave no fucks about it until I decided to actually play it and not really having the time to do that. Sounds very familiar. Does it? Maybe for some of you guys that are not really been here since the last event, or haven't been paying attention, probably not, but that's kind of been an issue I've been having lately with the last event, and then just back and forth adding more events one week after another. It's kind of getting to the point where it's like, I want to do other stuff that I need or want to, but I can't because Arknights is just continuously releasing video, update after update after update in a weekly scenario that it's just too much, almost. This game becoming too much. I didn't realize they were gonna continue this trend of just adding events after a week. It's a lot. It's a lot. So, yeah. That's why I don't have Vermil's skin. It's ironically one of the few skins I don't have that are for free, just because of the fact of not really having this time available to get said skin. Honestly, it really took it took a lot of participation just to get the skin for some fucking reason. It was way easier to get Morgan's skin than Vermil's skin. Why? Why? Who decided to make that the way it was? Anyway, enough of me kind of blasting Arknights developers' decisions on things. This is of course the list of characters that I can use that in some ways I did use. So far I've had not the need to use a 6-star yet, but as I took this in the last video, it is possible to use 6 stars in some ways is still easier. Like, granted I use S2, but S1 Blaze makes a hell of a more difference than trying to use 5 stars or 4 stars only. And yes, I did beak the first week without 6 stars, even with the new niche. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to at least point this out again. I won't always point this niche out, but just know Every so often I will, especially if there are changes that are noteworthy to make. With the whole mail thing, I think it was worth at least mentioning, especially because it's still kind of a new niche, and I don't know how much I'm going to be using this niche in week 2, so it's kind of a we will see type of thing. And of course, granted, I don't know when these videos are going to be up, so I can't really say based off your guys' feedback. In the future, if you guys do have feedback of like, okay, I want you to do the ODRKnights niche on a particular stage or event, or any upcoming events on specific stages, let me know in Discord. Discord would be the best way to go about it, just because the videos of said clears will most likely, especially right now, not come out in a desired and orderly and perfectly timed. So that would be my suggestion, is joining Discord. It shouldn't be that difficult. Most part, it's on the main channel. You'd be able to go into, I think, like, links and info or something like that on YouTube, and you should easily be able to get into there. There's a lot of chant videos out there that I've released, over 1,000. Most of them will also have a link to, at least some of them are going to be to my newer Discord. Some of them will be to the outdated, deleted old Discord. So, the best bet at this point in time I believe I recently updated, because I did recently change a few of the stuff on the YouTube channel. So, everything should be up to date. So, if not, and if this video comes out and you can't rejoin the Discord, let me know. Anyway, enough of me yapping here at the very start. This is gonna cut in a lot of time for the first video, but I think it's worth mentioning before we really get started on to week 2. And as I already said before, there won't be any Trials for Navigator videos, so there you go. Anyway, week 2. After a long day's work, one after every squat here, ruminating over dreams far out reach as they chew on their long, cold dinners. This is literally just a repeat of the stage I'm in farming, which is -7. It was just us flipping that. Okay. Okay. I don't believe this is going to be an issue. In fact, this stage looks really fucking easy. If anything of -7 is to be concerned about,
I'll be finding a backup route.
Oh.
I have to get serious now. Beginning collection of battlefield information. Almost we're counting on you again. The more defined a battle's goal is, the clearer tactics become.
This makes a lot of sense.
The land will forgive all in the end, but not now.
Patience. Don't treat history with such a flippant heart.
Get around, guys! Just try me!
Don't imagine the future with such a narrow view.
Easy.
Feel how your soul's imprisoned. It'll be a lesson you won't forget. Patience. Don't treat history with such a flippant attitude.
Okay.
Almost dozed off. You are the one who
The heroes are gonna survive most likely due to the fact of them having like multiple
Found your
lives.
archive. Alright. Let's do it.
Maybe. This time around, maybe the villains. This is actually going to be like a really tighter matchup here.
Feel how your soul's imprisoned. It'll be a lesson you won't forget.
Okay, enemy. Let's do this. Okay, not too bad. Self-explanatory, like the enemies are just gonna kill each other, more so than anything else.
Problem.
Challenge mode, DP, okay, so DP is gonna be less. Realistically, that's not bad. If anything, I kind of failed in that regard a little bit. I gotta remember they love to do like a ground and an air tile.
This will be a path paved with sacrifice.
I seem like I had plenty of time to get characters out, so I'm not too worried about that.
ご安心くださいまし。この毒は移りませんから。ステージに到達。治療目標発見。Almost dozed off. Gather around me, guys! Beginning collection of battlefield information. 匂いが強い。この毒はゆっくりとあなた方の命を蝕みますのよ。I have to get serious now.
Yeah, not too big of an issue.
Watch out for a voice. It's the best vessel for curses.
I remember your face as well now.
Feel how your soul's imprisoned. It'll be a lesson you won't forget.
この毒はゆっくりとあなた方のWe're counting on you again today, little apple. You are the one who woke me. Poison.
Patience, my friend. Let me have a smoke first. Found your archive. Alright. Destroy.
我がについて何時に死をもたらす。どうする？目の前真っ暗になってねえか？
Patience. Don't treat history with such a flippant attitude.
この毒はゆっくりとあなた方の命を蝕みますの。You'll have to try harder than that.
And I also really shouldn't be afraid of using characters that I know will be good that has, like for example S2 Lachlan. I could use S1, but S2 is still pretty good. Well, it automatically activates, it's not unlimited duration. It's similar to like Chung Yu's skill. Well, if it's S3, I can use his S3 as well. They're not limited to because it doesn't fully change it to like a different entire skill, like unlimited duration. Worst case scenario, I could use part of the red. I could probably bring out this card, but I think I'd be fine.
Patience, my friend.
I think it's
Feel how
skill
your
here.
soul's in prison.
Do some
It'll be
chip
a lesson
damage.
you won't forget.
Overall, pretty easy first stage. I like the mechanic of what they're going with here. A bit unique. I could see some interesting use case in the future. The biggest threat in this stage, I think, at the end here is going to be the amount of villains. A Loblander should be able to take out one of them. Now, if he can get out, no. Yeah, it's just going to be this good. Overall, I say the villains are worse because they hit twice versus the once, and they just do more damage by twice.
Don't treat history with such a flippant attitude.
And so some interesting things. So many characters that you wouldn't think have attack offensive recovery do, like Warframe's S1 and Whispering's S1.